Hi there. My name is Scott Johnson. Maga Christians are not being honest with you. Christian nationalism seeks to define America as a Christian nation. Some believe it has always been a Christian nation. Others are doing their best to make it so. But the Judeo-Christian scriptures offer no mandate for shaping a nation around a specific religious identity. In fact, many Christian nationalists promote a narrow and fundamentalistic, literalistic version of Christianity, one that is not universally accepted among many Christians, not only in America, but around the world. Listen to how the Apostle Paul's words highlight a key contradiction when it comes to coercing a specific religious point of view. Paul writes in Romans 12 and verse 18, "If it is possible, as far as it depends upon you, live at peace, be peaceable with all." So I ask you a question. How is it that followers of Jesus can advocate for imposing a specific worldview, a specific biblical interpretation even, while striving for peace in society? Here's my take. God's lavish love offers us freedom, not coercion, freedom to respond to his invitation of love and faith. Forcing others into a belief system contradicts Jesus' very practice and way of life. As we see him interacting with people, we never see coercion. I wish to urge every Christian nationalist to revisit America's founding documents, to look again at the history of our country. To do this, you need to go back to original sources. Why? Well, there's been a lot of mythology that surrounds our nation. Many people with various religious aims and hopes. A lot of mythology around our nation's relationship with Christianity. I have encountered many of those mythologies since my childhood, as well as into my adulthood. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and believe me, many people come through trying to show how this city was built on Christian foundations. I've been on bus tours that have tried to advocate it, to read books about it. But did you know that despite some colonies' religious beginnings, the United States has long been a pluralistic nation? Remember, the Pilgrims were fleeing religious tyranny. They sought freedom to worship according to conscience. An example of this is that the Plymouth colony rejected the King James Bible, which was the only version authorized by the king. They favored the Geneva Bible. In fact, if you were found with a King James Bible, you could be put in stocks in the town square. They did this as an act of religious, if you will, protest against authoritarianism. Allow me also to add one more comment about Christians and America. As followers of Jesus, we should honestly examine whether America has a track record or not of upholding the very teachings of Jesus. It would seem that if it's going to be a Christian nation, it would do that. Was it a Christian nation that slaughtered needlessly indigenous peoples? Was it a Christian nation that built much of its infrastructure on the blood and sweat of chattel slavery? Was it a Christian nation that pursued many unjust wars throughout its history? Do these actions reflect the teachings of Jesus? If we claim to follow Christ, we must ask, what do these deeds say about our faith? The facts show that many founding fathers were not what we think of as Trinitarian Christians. They were deists. They were influenced by the Enlightenment ideals, not necessarily advocating a devout Christian perspective. Today's Christian nationalism distorts the teachings of Jesus, wrapping Jesus in a flag to serve political goals of pursuing power. This not only misrepresents Jesus, but it contradicts his message of love and peace and humility, of loving the least of these. So here's a few of our stated founding documents. First, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, written in 1791. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's for everybody. Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, written in 1787. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. I live in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and this is the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, written by Jefferson and Madison in 1786. No man shall be compelled to frequent or support any religious worship, place, or ministry whatsoever. And finally, the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, 1786. All men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinion in matters of religion. These are great words. Oh, I need to tell you about the Treaty of Tripoli, ratified by the U.S. Senate, signed by, of all people, a Christian, John Adams, in 1797. The government of the United States of America is not, in any sense, founded on the Christian religion. We can put a period after that. I hope you have a wonderful weekend celebrating the nation's 250th anniversary. But I also hope you will be honest about our history, that you won't be afraid to celebrate the good, talk about the bad, and even examine the ugly. We do have wonderful things to celebrate. But if you love and seek to follow Jesus, I urge you to place your faith identity over your national identity. Never make your faith subservient to national politics. Never be afraid to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of your nation's story. And finally, do not allow the teachings of Jesus, the name of Jesus, or the work of Jesus to be domesticated for the purpose of politics. Blessings on all of you. Thanks for listening.